That's the thing I find so distressing is that they're not taking a Canada First approach. They're taking a Liberal Party First approach.
What a wild day. Donald Trump is officially inaugurated. We'll get into a little bit of that. Danielle Smith has said some scathing and just awesome stuff on social media and in a few interviews. And Chrystia Freeland threw Justin Trudeau under the bus a little bit, which was quite enjoyable to watch. You know what? I'll summarize it this way. The last couple of weeks in particular have been very eye-opening. And to all of the real traitors, we see you. You expose yourself. You exposed yourself when you thought you were being tough. But it's funny how your weakness is so clear when you try to stomp on everybody else around you. And I have a lot to say about all of that. This is Over Opinionated. I'm Jasmine Lane. Subscribe, like, share, comment, follow, and let's get into it. So let's kick this off with the epitome of weakness, which is when you play all of your cards on the table and you pretend as though you can tell the future, even though you aren't doing what the same person you're trying to slam and drag through the mud is doing to actually have a good grasp on reality. Chrystia Freeland announced her plan to run as Liberal leader, which, I mean, who knows if that will even end up happening, depending how this court case in terms of having prorogation dismissed ends up going. We talked about that in yesterday's video, but she made one crucial flaw here, and that is the simple fact that to try to look tough, she ran entirely so far, like her video announcement that she was running, her rally yesterday, and the subsequent interviews that she has been doing to announce this decision have all been about the same thing, Donald Trump, and how apparently Donald Trump doesn't like her because he is scared of her, because she is such a tough negotiator. Well, that really backfired today.
We know Donald Trump doesn't like you very much, Ms. Freeland. How would that change things if you went back into negotiations with him?
I think it is a huge advantage for Canada. It is really, really important for Donald Trump not to sense weakness, not to sense that Canada can be bullied, not to sense that Canada will capitulate. Mm-hmm. He knows that I won't do any of those things. And that's how we get a good deal.
Premier Danielle Smith is down in Washington, and she actually said something in one of her interviews that is the perfect rebuttal to everything Chrystia Freeland said. We will show that video in just a little bit, but the number one thing here is no, actually, it's not advantageous whatsoever for the leader of the most powerful country in the world, really, to not like you. And Chrystia Freeland, please take your head out of your you-know-where, because he doesn't not like you because he thinks that you're really strong and he's intimidated by you. He doesn't like you because he thinks you're incompetent. And he has been very, very clear about that. So some pretty interesting spins going on here. Just for funsies, we're going to throw to this one clip from the same interview where Chrystia Freeland definitely threw Justin Trudeau under the bus, which I think is probably in her best interest right now, actually, because in order to try and separate yourself from the party, which is impossible, what else can you do? You cannot sit by and say, oh, I approve of everything that he did still, but I'm different. You have to throw him under the bus. And initially, I wasn't sure if she would be willing to do that, but color me surprised.
Let's go back to the disagreement you're having with the Prime Minister, because let's say you win this race. Of course, there's several people in the race right now. If there was a disagreement in your cabinet, how would you handle things differently? Like if your finance minister came to you and said, Prime Minister, I think we're on the wrong track here. How would you tackle that differently than what the experience you've had was?
Well, probably I wouldn't tell my finance minister I was going to fire her the day after she delivered the fall economic statement. I probably wouldn't say that 3 days before she was supposed to deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of that from Chrystia Freeland as she continues and advances in this Liberal leadership race. However, let's not forget this one simple fact.
Carbon tax Carney and carbon tax Chrystia are just like Justin. Chrystia Freeland has been in charge of the budget for the last 4 years. How's the economy been doing? I don't think I need to say anything more about that. But the other guy, carbon tax Carney, here's a guy, he was a government bureaucrat, then a government banker, and now he spent the last few years as a glorified lobbyist for corporate welfare bums.
And boy, has he ever been successful at that. I came across this post saying, was Trudeau's heat pump subsidy a scam to make Mark Carney money? This is something a lot of conservatives had said right off the bat. And here's the thing, there's a lot of stuff that Justin Trudeau has implemented, even the school food program, where there is one particular business or one particular department, whatever, who is overseeing that. And when you start to follow the money back, you will see that the subsidies granted by the Trudeau government, our tax dollars, actually end up going back to some of these other people. Like, it's very, very corrupt, similar to the Green Slush Fund. And here we have, Mark Carney advises Justin Trudeau, but he's an outsider, right? Subsidies with your tax dollars. Those heat pumps are manufactured by Trane Technologies, partnered with Brookfield Asset Management, who is chaired by Mark Carney. How much louder does the picture need to scream at you before you realize what's going on here?
Going around trying to get grants and subsidies and handouts from the taxpayer for the wealthiest corporations in the world. And by the way, he has the most radical policy agenda. He believes the carbon tax is too low. He has said it on the record. He thinks the carbon tax is too low and needs to go even higher than Trudeau has already placed it. He will be the voice for the billionaire, globalist elite that have been impoverishing the working class around the world for the last several decades. He is the golden boy of the World Economic Forum, and he will be a disaster if he ever gets anywhere close to power.
The left has almost always preyed on the dumb and the vulnerable. They prey on people with these, oh, it's so compassionate, it's nice, it's good for everybody things. Because anybody who has ever really suffered in life, anybody who understands the world, who is well read and well versed, knows that there's always some sort of a hidden agenda behind things, especially in the political world. And I've said this before, my parents are very liberal, and just earlier today, my mom called and she said, hey, did you see that thing on The Daily Show with Mark Carney? I thought he did so great. And then I began informing my mom of some of the dirty business Mark Carney has been involved in, some of the really freakishly outlandish things he has said and advocated for. And my mom was like, whoa, I didn't know that at all. I thought he was really charming. And I'm like, I could see how to the uneducated mind, he was very charming in that interview. But when you peel back the layers, you follow the money, when you realize that a billionaire who hasn't even worked in Canada for over 10 years, who pulled his multi-trillion-dollar company out of Canada because the taxes were too high, who seized the production of oil in Canada, who was fully in support of the Trudeau government doing all of those things and advised them on it solely so that his own oil companies in Southern America and also in the Middle East could thrive, you know that there is something really shady and nefarious going on here. And hey, don't take it from me. Why don't you just take it from the former Prime Minister of England?
Just wanting to get your thoughts on Mark Carney and your relationship with him while you were Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and any advice you have to Canadians who think he might make a good Prime Minister.
Well, Mark Carney was Governor of the Bank of England, and under his tenure, too much money was printed, which did damage to the British economy and put our economy off track. He, at the last election, endorsed Rachel Reeves' economic policy. She's now become Chancellor. It's been a disaster for Britain. The country is heading for bankruptcy. So I would strongly recommend not backing Mark Carney or his policies on net zero, which have been disastrous for Britain and would be disastrous for Canada.
Do you trust his judgment overall, outside of ideological considerations?
Well, I believe that he made major mistakes in the management of the Bank of England. He has pushed net zero, which has been a disaster, not just for the UK, but for many countries across the world.
Thanks for your time, Prime Minister. I appreciate it.
Moving on to the biggest news of the day in terms of Donald Trump and the absolute weakness that was exposed from the Liberals and their loyal supporters, who are also equally weak and vulnerable people who have been brainwashed and manipulated with this insane propaganda. I mean, the most obvious indicator of that is the simple fact that Donald Trump says, I'm going to put a tariff on Canada unless you fix your border and fix your drug epidemic. And what does Justin Trudeau do? He creates division with that instead of just addressing the very real problems. The Liberal government could have and should have for years just said, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Our border definitely needs to be protected. We have all kinds of crazy people coming into our country. We have unvetted people from Gaza coming in. We actually don't really vet any of our refugees or anything like that. And then you wonder why the streets look like this right now. But instead of that, Justin Trudeau, because he's a narcissist, thinks, you know what, this is actually a really good opportunity to create more fear and division, and then to also manipulate the public into thinking that we're the saviors and the conservatives are the bad guys. This is what he does every time. It is so predictable. It's actually insane that he's still playing checkers like this. It really is, because Donald Trump and the conservatives are definitely the ones playing chess in this game.
My view has always been, if you're going to be diplomatic, lead with diplomacy, lead with a relationship, lead with common interests, lead with talking about what the Americans benefit from the relationship with Canada. So I've taken a bit of a departure, I think, from our federal counterparts, but I think it's the right one. I think that this is going to be the way that we ensure that the relationship does not get damaged as the federal Liberals are going through their inter-party turmoil. That's the thing I find so distressing, is that they're not taking a Canada First approach. They're taking a Liberal Party First approach. They're turning the Americans and the Trump administration in particular into the bad guys so that they can campaign against them for their own personal political benefit, and that is not good for the country. So we're putting the country first. We're putting the relationship first, and we hope that we end up with a positive outcome.
How does that saying go again? If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, looks like a Trudeau, it's probably the Liberal Party of Canada. Well, here's what happens when you actually put Team Canada first, like Premier Danielle Smith has been, is Donald Trump, his team, has indicated today that he won't be hitting Canada with damaging tariffs on his inauguration day. Instead, Donald Trump will be signing an executive order launching an investigation into alleged unfair trade and currency practices by Canada, Mexico, and China. And just like Pierre Poilievre has said many times, Donald Trump smells weakness from a mile away. Chrystia Freeland is not some intimidating person. No, she has played quite the heavy hand in destroying our country, as have all of the Liberals of Justin Trudeau's party, who have not put Team Canada first, but have manipulated and used a lot of propaganda to pit Canadian citizens against everybody except for the Liberal Party, our savior. We have literally been in an abusive relationship with this guy for far too long. And look at how much all of them campaigned over the last little while about Trump and the Trump tariffs.
And I'll be very honest with you, Rosie, Canadians don't trust the Liberal Party of Canada right now. And I think that's because over the past couple of years in particular, we've gotten further away from the grassroots and talking about the things that Canadians care about.
So what don't they trust about the Liberal Party, and how would you correct that?
Well, look, whether it's with regards to housing or the cost of groceries, they're saying things are expensive for us right now. And we need help to make ends meet, and we need leaders who are focused on those really, like things that matter to us, like our pocketbook issues and making sure that we're there.
Two things have become evidently clear about this. Number one, I don't think it was ever about the tariffs. Donald Trump is on a tear right now, and he wants to get rid of woke in politics, big time.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
He wants to get rid of the gender insanity. He wants to get rid of the racism coming from the party who claims to not be racist. But if you look at every single person by their race and tell some races that they are better or worse than others, that is racist. And Justin Trudeau is the epitome of every single one of those things that Donald Trump hates. He is the epitome of every single one of those things that is destroying Western civilization under the lie of compassion. Which leads me to the second point that has become incredibly clear. This is more about pushing for an election. And the Liberals, who are so weak and not smart enough to see the long game here, completely fell for it. And look at the infighting amongst themselves. Look at the division they have continued to use for power.
Danielle Smith is dividing Canadians. This video goes out to all of you. Where were you guys when everybody was against Alberta's energy and now you're calling for unity? Where were you guys when everybody said Alberta doesn't pay for the rest of Canada, except it's clear as day? Where were you guys? Oh, you were whining, bitching, and complaining about Alberta, but many of the people in your province was flying in and flying out and bringing that money back to their economies. Yeah. Well, today, Danielle Smith got shit done. Donald Trump is not imposing tariffs right away. He's looking at the trade deficits. He's going to do his research. He's got a whole committee on it. And I could say it's because of Danielle Smith going to meet with him. Danielle Smith just saved Canada from tariffs, immediate tariffs. And you guys won't say anything about it. This is the thing. Nobody's ever stood with Alberta. And I know a lot of you have. But it's time that people start taking Alberta seriously. We get pipelines coast to coast to coast. Enough with special interest groups. They can get. If this doesn't prove anything to you, that we should be taking our energy seriously, then I don't know anything else that will. Follow the channel for more. Go get your Berta Proud gear at bertaprouddad.com.
That is what it really means to fight for Canada. And you can go and call Danielle Smith a traitor. You can call conservatives traitors. But it's pretty clear who's winning the game here. It's pretty clear who's playing chess and who is still playing checkers. So, nice trying to run on fear-mongering and more division from every single candidate in the Liberal leadership race into every single one of those people out there who were saying, screw Alberta, Alberta's terrible, treacherous, blah, blah. He is so right. They will not say a dang word about it now. And just watch, you will end up seeing probably Jolie and LeBlanc. You'll probably see Trudeau on TV. Oh, this was all thanks to us. It wasn't. It really wasn't. It was thanks to Danielle Smith. It was thanks to Kevin O'Leary, even though I'm still not over the whole boating incident that his wife got off scot-free on. It was thanks to people like Pierre Poilievre. It was thanks to conservatives for conserving our great nation and fighting for it. I'm Jasmine Lane. This is Over Opinionated. Subscribe, like, share, comment, follow, all of that jazz. And I'll talk to you very soon.